Welcome to the Human Aspect.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking your time to doing this interview. The first question is, what has been your life toughest challenge that has shaped the Tah Riq that I'm blessed to know?
My greatest challenge in life has been to continue to show up as authentically me when I feel like the entire world or society or parents and peers and colleagues are at odds with that. That has been my greatest challenge. I feel like being yourself in a society where everything is kind of constantly trying to push and pull you in different directions and tell you you're not good enough, you're not beautiful enough, you're not smart enough, you need to attend this course, you need to buy this product or cover your skin with this cream, or all of these kind of ways of kind of shrouding who we really are. That has been my greatest challenge, and that is one that I'm proud to say that I continually face head on.
Being your authentic self, it's not a challenge that you overcome, it's a challenge you're facing each and every day.
Yeah, because who you are continues to evolve.
How are you overcoming this challenge every day? Do you have anybody that's helping you? Do you have a tool? What kind of tools do you have for overcoming it?
It's mainly a question that I ask myself, which is, what's the alternative? Living someone else's dream? Or worse, living someone else's life? Living someone else's existence, not even really living. For me, that's probably one of the scariest things you can do, is so that the greatest risk, as has been said before, is to take no risk at all. And so for me, just to see how dramatically my life has changed, to go from living in the UK, waking up under grey skies, freezing cold on the way to the train station every morning to get to work, to put on a uniform, to sell computers, from there to traveling the world, doing international talks and workshops, and knowing what I know now, I would just say that if the alternative is just existing and we have one life to live, then you owe it to yourself. You were born a winner, like literally, I mean, out of, I think it's like something like 200 million sperm, right? You were the fastest one. You made it through. You were born number one. You were born with that gold medal. What are you gonna do with it? You know, you're gonna just put it on the shelf for the rest of your life? And so when I see these things staring back at me, I'm like, I've gotta be more. I've gotta be more of who I know myself to be. And people might think you're crazy to begin with until it works, and then they think you're clever. So you have to really just honor who you are, because there's only one of you, and we're all facets of the same diamond, all contributing our own aspects, our own vantage point of what life is. And as long as we can embody our own true gifts, then we will have a beautiful life and help to facilitate a beautiful life for other people. I want to be that person for myself and for other people.
Do you have a specific memory, a time or a place where you can take us back in your memory where the challenge has been extra tough?
Yeah, there's been a few key ones, so I'll mention the ones that spring to mind. The first was around 10 years ago, living in the UK, and I had graduated with my degree and master's in 3D animation. So I'd done everything that my parents and everybody said I should. I got all my good grades, I went to university, got all my degrees and stuff. And then while I was looking for an animation job, I ended up getting a job selling computers. And it was just meant to be a part-time job to begin with, which turned into a full-time job. And I thought, okay, it's okay, I'll work there and I'll look for a job on the side. But when you're working 48 hours a week, you're not really interested in going home and looking for more work. So I ended up just being stuck there. And so the challenge for me was, when I had all of these bills coming in and rent that continued needing to be paid, no clear answer, but I knew that I had to get out of that situation right then and there. Otherwise I was just gonna be stuck for longer and longer. So I made the decision to quit. And And a lot of people would have, including my parents, they were like, well, wait until you get a job lined up and then quit. But what I now know about manifestation and how universal law works is you have to demonstrate the readiness before you can receive. When I quit, I had nothing to fall back on other than just a belief that I was worth more than that. And the ironic thing was, and as a beautiful, I suppose, communication from the universe was, I quit my job selling computers at 9 a.m. in the morning. I was on such a high that I carried myself differently at work. And 3 hours later, a customer asked me, so what do you do? And I said, proudly, I'm an animator. And he said, well, why are you selling computers? I said, actually, I quit this morning. He said, are you any good? So I logged into a work terminal and I showed him my showreel that I had uploaded to YouTube, and he hired me on the spot as an animator, paying me more than my job selling computers. And this was 3 hours after I quit. So it showed me that the opportunities were there all along, but because I was living in one world, I wouldn't have had access to that. But as soon as I made the decision for myself, I carried myself differently. I started vibrating a different kind of energy. Suddenly those opportunities could come rushing in. And the last one was when I had this realization through a number of different awakening processes, and I suppose a spiritual journey that I've been constantly on, that the idea of drinking and partying was essentially paying good money to poison myself several times a week, every week, for like 15 or 16 years. And it started to be really confronting for people who maybe themselves wanted to leave alcohol behind, but they identified with it too much, and they told themselves that it was okay just because everybody else was doing it. And I stand out as this example of like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go out sober. I'm still going to go to your parties. I'm still going to go out clubbing, but I'm going to do it without any alcohol. And that was really tough. And everybody tried to buy me drinks, and I had people who were angry at me and so on. So
You're talking now to all the people out there who are facing the same challenge that you're facing, to be themselves and to develop, and not let society dictate which choices they want for themselves. What would you say to them?
I would say that rules, guidelines, structures are there for the majority of people who feel like they need them. A lot of people actually need that autopilot, need that programming to help give their life some semblance of predictability, because that's what makes them feel safe. But I know from having been made redundant from a job I loved, so after I quit the job selling computers, I got a job designing and creating and animating, and it was like what I wanted. And I was about to move into a flat one morning. I had just handed in the keys to the place I was living in the night before. I was super excited. I walked into work and I got made redundant that morning. So overnight, no job, no house. And I realized that any security, any safety net that I had built up in my mind was an illusion, and that ultimately I was disposable. And that when somebody better comes along or the company changes direction, as was the case here, suddenly my services are no longer required. And as long as you give the strings to control you over to somebody else, then they can move you as they see fit. So my message is, if you're in a position, you're in a relationship, a job, obligation, something that you know in your heart of hearts isn't right for you, and you know that you are on your way to leaving or on your way to moving into something greater, then why not today, why not now, and why not you? Because otherwise, you'll just continue to have this conversation with yourself over and over again until you finally do move away from it, and then you realize that you could have done it all that time ago. But the thing is, time will continue to pass whether you like it, want it, or not. So if you don't start living for yourself today, that's okay. Life will continue to pass. And then 10 years down the line, you'll suddenly realize that all of these opportunities have just been passing you by, and you haven't been in a position to really live for you. And I see this with so many people these days. My message to everybody is, Start being you today. Whatever being you means. If it means dressing in a Halloween costume every day and walking down the street, so be it. If it means having a relationship with 6 people at once and that's really you, so be it. If it means changing the way you eat, what you eat, who you hang out with, whatever it means, you won't be happy unless you are being you. And the sooner you are you, the sooner you will be happy. And only you can figure out what that means. And that is the best way to show up in this world.
Amazing. Thank you.